Your live market update and charts of the day for today. Hope you're well. I hope you've had a good week so far. On this Thursday has started well for you. Um, let's um, let's have a little bit of a meander around the market. Some interesting stuff to share, of course, as is always the case. And just before we do, I should pop up this important message to remind you that this is for educational purposes only. Please make sure you do your own due diligence. Make sure you follow trading plans. Make sure you manage risk on every trading action. Welcome to everybody who's joined us today. Thank you very much for popping in. I will intimately check if there's any messages you have for me, but hello to all. Thank you very much, of course. So what we're going to do is the usual, pop into the headlines, see what's going on, and then we'll check out some charts and see what's moving and grooving uh, in this back end of the Asian session. Obviously, let's get into the headlines first, of course. Some key action overnight in the US with the Fed rate decision, a 0.25% cut, as has been telegraphed some time. Markets recalibrated a little bit in terms of expectations going forward. The October meeting is expected to yield another 0.25%, an 87% chance, I think, when I last looked, that will be the case. Potential for one more cut this year, with one more predicted for early 2026. So the Fed is responding. It's sort of it's an interesting place the Fed's in, just if you indulge me for a little moment or two. So most of the Fed mandate is revolving around making sure that inflation isn't too hot, whilst making sure the economy doesn't fall into a hole. At this stage, it's what's interesting is that we are seeing inflation tick up slightly. It's been quite sticky where it is now, and it doesn't seem to be dropping off at all. That's certainly not been seen in many goods. Some of that's tariff orientated, some of it's not. We're seeing PPI slightly to the upside as well. So there are inflation risks there, but the slightly greater risk is that of the economy falling over a little bit more than was hoped. And we've seen that primarily in the jobs data, in the housing data to a lesser degree. And generally speaking, the economic data hasn't been massively good. So in terms of the balance the Fed has to try and manage is making sure that they don't go over the top in terms of enthusiastic rate cuts, much as though that's what Trump would like, but also, of course, trying to make sure that there is some growth potential there. So that's really what this rate cut has been about. Be interesting to see if there's data that supports jobs maybe doing a little better, whether that alters the likelihood of that rate regime that I've just outlined. Anyway, so the US futures are fairly positive today after that choppy end of market session with the rate decision and subsequent press conference. Um, and near the highs of the session when I last looked, around about 0.5% to the upside on the Nasdaq, for example. Asian markets are pretty mixed in early trading. We are seeing the Nikkei once again hit new highs, but the ASX is down 0.5%. That's primarily on the back of weak employment numbers that came out earlier. The Kiwi or the New Zealand market and the Kiwi are also both looking a little, are also looking precarious um, because of some weaker GDP numbers. So that's a pretty well local issue going on that's affected the ASX and the New Zealand markets. European futures are pointing to a cautiously positive open, and of course, we will sort of update you as we do. Remember, there's an inner circle tonight. We did shift it from Wednesday and Thursday. Apologies for anybody who was confused by my YouTube streaming dates, etc. But it is locked in for this evening at 8 o'clock. We're going to talk about trading the event in a little detail. So if you can make it along to that, it'd be great to see you later. In terms of the FX markets, we obviously saw some US dollar weakness. It bounced off 4 years lows since we last met. When it was testing a support, it moved further to the downside as we thought it might. but then it has bounced to some degree, of course, because of that USD strength. Gold has retraced a little from record highs. Copper has also pulled back from that test over resistance level around the 200 MA. We'll have a look at charts of all of these in a moment. And oil is range bound, though, near the top of the range in another fairly choppy week. Um, Bitcoin is looks poised to me. It's given 116,000 another crack uh, in today's trading. We'll see where it is right now, but a breach of that could be interesting. And as I said, earnings and trade news are going to be continue to be important. We've had most of the earnings out. I might take that off tomorrow. We had the few stragglers over the last week and a half or 2 weeks or so. Um, as I said, that Kiwi GDP was weak. Later on, we've got the UK rate decision, which is expected to be paused. And we've got US weekly jobs and manufacturing data later. That Philadelphia manufacturing data is quite an important one. So that's the news. Let's check out some charts. I'm not sure what we've got up first, but we'll have a wee look. Um, let's start with the major indices, of course. So there was that choppiness around that Fed rate decision. You can see a fairly significant move, whichever way you slice it, from top to bottom on that candle, on those two candles. Sorry, it was a fairly impressive 1%. But really, by the end of the session, we were in pre-Fed decision territory, and you can see that move higher again on the expectation of further rate cuts. And of course, we hit record highs last week. This, if it should close here tomorrow morning, this would probably mean record highs again for the US 500. So that strength this morning is really helping things along. Likewise with the Nasdaq, you can see on the hourly chart there. Both of these are worth keeping an eye. It'd be interesting to see if there's any slingshot effect once Europe opens. We're around about 32 points or 31 points away from testing that intraday record high that we hit last time. But again, if it was to close where it is now, it would be a record high on the Nasdaq. So stocks looking good on the back of that Fed news. Although there was a slightly delayed response. You can see the big wick going on. Um, I think it was the press conference afterwards where it was suggested that the two additional cuts this year and one in 2026 that probably helped the markets recover from what was an initial, oh, is that it? So, sort of moment. So that's where we're at. So the US indices, as I said, are looking good. Watch for follow through on European Open this afternoon. If we look for context at the USD, you can see those 4-year lows there back in uh, early 2021. We were last at this level. We tested it a couple of times a couple of months ago, and you can see that wicked dip below. Look in a little more detail. There's that wick that dipped below in last night's trading before we just got a little bit of a bounce. So that little bit of a bounce obviously has had an impact on gold. You can see almost a mirror image of that there. We did hit intraday highs of 37.07, which would be record highs intraday before pulling back. And then, of course, we're sort of starting to see, although it's a little bit choppy, just watch this double bottom type of formation on the shorter term time frame. I'll just put it on the hourly as well. You can see it's still there. If we do get a breach of 36.71, then maybe 36.85 might be a target, might get stuck in here. But 3,700 is looking really on the cards. Just started. Oh, I didn't need to put this up. But anyway, we'll have a look at it. It's up. So this is something I'm working on at the moment. This is an MT5 dashboard. So it gives you which markets are open and when they open and close. It gives you an economic calendar, what's coming out. There's that BOE interest rate, and this is platform time, account balance in terms of what it's doing, all that sort of stuff. Where we are at the moment, we've got one position open, which is slightly in negative territory, and a risk monitor, and then currency strength. Now, the idea of this is it looks at relative strength of one currency versus the others, and you can see at this stage, it's suggesting that the USD Kiwi is worth having a look at. So what we can do then is obviously Subsequently, go and have a look at that. So now these are just at this stage, these are panels that are operational, but you can see there we've had that really sort of strong move to the downside on the hour chart, a little bit of a bounce off a potential support level. So just keep an eye on this for a breach or close on the 30-minute chart below 15.20. So that's the nature of the beast in terms of what we're working on. So the other thing I've been working on is this, which is there's the general FX calculator. I've already adapted that to take into account different strategies. So it looks at the key variables within each of these strategies. So there's a fractal strategy, a Bollinger reversal, pin bar reversal, and a trend grab, which aims to grab the middle of a trend. And what it does is if it's loads of greens, then it says this is interesting. If it's not many greens at all, if it's all reds, it means it's interesting short. If it's neutral, it's neutral. So, for example, if we look at the euro yen, which should open for us now, actually hasn't because too many charts open. But yeah, there you see, essentially, what it'll do is it puts all of the indicators on automatically. And if we look here, you can see there's the fractal. It's moving towards. We've breached that high there. So there's the fractal break potentially that's setting up and a potential one to keep an eye on the euro yen there if we should breach 173.84 looks like the key level. And that would also be consistent on the daily chart, the 4-hourly chart, and even the 15-minute chart. So this is a multi-time frame level. So I'm really keen on keeping an eye on the euro yen. 173.71 is the level. That's going to be difficult to breach as a chart of the day, and with the Kiwi USD bouncing, this is an interesting potential reversal. So what we might look at here is what we can do in this. This is akin to our for those of you in the let's do that. And let's change this to this is a 5. Okay, great. So this is, and then what we'll put on it is we'll make this blue line a 5 EMA. So what we'd be looking at would actually be in this trade now. Actually, usually it's a 7, but the idea is that we look for an extreme RSI, so a short time period. We've gone below 20. There is the reversal. There's the potential candle closing above the 5 MA, and so we could be up from here. So a couple of strategies there, but so Kiwi USD actually looks like a potential long, and the euro yen that we talked about before looks like a potential long also. GB pound yen, that's the FX calendar in all its glory. So you can see there, if lots of things are green, then we might have an interest in that. So there's the GB pound Aussie. So we can click on that. There's the GB pound Aussie setting up rather nicely. So again, there's one to watch. 205.08 is the level to watch. So I'm just trying to develop tools which will make life easier for you all in terms of keeping an eye on stuff, as well as I can't see anything in chat at all. So let's just try and push this. There we go. So let me know what you think of those. Anyway, good stuff. Right. Okay, let's get back to the plot. Copper. You can see copper there, as I said, bounced off that 200 MA to the downside, and oil's done pretty similar. So a weaker session overnight with commodities with that USD strength across the board. And now Bitcoin is interesting. We've got a potential test of 116. What's that? What's a 116.892? Let's call it 117. I would be keeping an eye on. If we look on the hourly chart, you can see we've had multi-tests of that level already. We are near the high of the session. So it looks as though we're going to give that a test. 117 I quite like, and potentially move up to 120,000. And there's that record high around just beneath 124. It actually hit 124,500 intraday. But those would be the three levels I would watch. If I just put a line on there, so we'll get a 116 to 120, 120 to 124, so 4,000 increments, nice and neat. Okay, so um, we've had a look at FX. So the FX charts I want you to keep an eye on are Euro Japanese yen. You can see that push up to towards 174 potentially in the first instance. Um, so that 173.84, and then see how high that'll go. That would represent a high not seen since back here in June last year. What's that? That's 15-month highs on the euro yen. And as I said, the Kiwi, um, wait and see where this candle ends up. But that Kiwi USD looks really interesting simply because of a bounce off this level around about 59. So those are your two charts of the day. Kiwi USD, Euro Yen. Okay, so let's get into some ASX stuff. Let me just check in on it. I'll try. I do. I always have a look because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't with this software, which is just a nightmare. Come on. Yes, there we go. So you should see the ASX up in front of you now, where it is now around about 5% to the downside. Um, if we just look at the sector split halfway through the trading day at this stage, you can see there's only IT just slightly in positive trading with discretionary holding on by fingernails. Everything else is down. Energy is looking really shaky. Not sure why. We're not getting a massive drop off in oil, though obviously it is a little weak today, but it's certainly not selling off significantly. So that's interesting why energy are under so much pressure. Materials, not surprising on the back of copper and gold, pulling back a little bit. Um, oh, there you go. XRG has abandoned a takeover on Santos. That would be why energy's down then. Let's just see STO and it's worth spending a minute or two. Yeah, down 11%. So that's dragging energy down. Santos is a big player in that space. Let's just quickly look and get an update on what other markets are doing. There is the Nikkei rocking and rolling. It's now over 1%. That's near the highs of the session. Shanghai's also up. Shanghai's been bimbling around neutral, and there you can see the ASX is the underperformer on the back of that data. Now, in terms of that jobs data, so you can see there the extent of the damage. We were expecting a downwards revision. So we were expecting 21,000, which would have been down. Uh, it was actually revised upwards, unlike the US. Um, so we're expecting a slightly softer number anyway. We've not only done that, but we've moved into a negative place. You can see there's that Kiwi GDP, which has moved into negative territory, Q on Q. As it looks as though New Zealand may be heading towards the recession if we get the next print from the quarterly GDP. Another two consecutive quarters would indicate recession. That's a bit of a shock to the Kiwi dollar. May encourage the RBNZ to act. Likewise with this, let's just do the RBA since we've got a bit of internet kicking around. Let's just have a look at what is priced in. This was priced in pretty pawsy last time I looked. Okay, so that's yesterday. Be interesting to see. Just have a look at this tomorrow. I'll put the link. I'm going to try and put the link. You'll see basically the back end of this very temporarily. But I'll put the link into the chat there. You can see at this stage, very, very much priced in. It's going to pause, but it'd be interesting to see how much that jobs data has changed this course. And let's just check in on the futures very quickly. There you see, yeah, they're looking good. Nasdaq's at the high of the session. You can see there. Um, there's the Nikkei looking and rolling, and that European market's expecting to be to the upside. Weakness in oil, in gold, in copper, and you can see the FX market is fairly flattish at the moment. So overall, although we've had a look at them, there's that move up in Bitcoin. So there you go. Had a little play with the internet. So let's get back to some charts and have a look at some ASX charts that may be of interest. Try and have a look at some charts. It's interesting. Now it's not letting me open charts. It's a bit of a nuisance. Okay, let's try again. There we go. Come back. Okay, so you should see the charts pop up. Now let's have a look at some ASX stocks. Already checked out Santos, and you can see there it is the underperformer. Watch this now. Paladin are really worth a look at. Let's just zip forward. Paladin noted before this is pushing up to that a key level at 822. Um, it's that move back over the 200 MA was technically significant a couple of weeks ago. And not surprisingly, we've done a little test of this a couple of times. You can see there's the third test. We've just pulled back beneath it. Check in with this in the last hour. There's a possible move up in Paladin. Um, let's say we close at around about 832. Then at least 6% up to 882. But I think $9 is possibly on the cards, which is around about 9%. So around about that, sorry, 8%, which is around about that level there. So Paladin's worth keeping an eye on. Vulcan is obviously in the lithium space. Let's just put this on a kind of template for you. There we go. You can see that significant move to the upside, nearly 6.5% today. This was the one we actually called yesterday. No, last time we met on Monday. But it didn't give people much chance to get in based on these gaps to the upside. So this looks interesting, but it just feels as though it may just get caught in this bit here. So I'd be watching around about, despite its move up today, I'd be watching about 485 for a breach. Deep yellow, obviously in the uranium space as well. Um, not quite as attractive as Paladin yet. $2 appears to be a key level there. It was tested back here early September. Tested again a couple of days ago. A little bit of a retracement. Buying come back in. So you've got a nice level there where that close was on Tuesday at around about 206. LTR looking great, PLS looking great, all these lithium stocks looking good, but they all require just a little bit of a patience after that big pullback we had last time they moved to the upside. I do like Liontown if it manages to breach a dollar. It's one close over a dollar. Really, there we go. That's what it's done. So that dollar looks really important. Nice round psychological number on Liontown. Iluka, from a rare earths point of view, is also looking as though it might retest uh, resistance around about 660. And LYC, this is our chart of the day for multiple times. We've had that pause, that pullback, that rate of rock and roll, 1507. Is that up to date? Don't think it is now. Thought there was another pullback. So multiple attempts at 1507. Looks as though we're going to go and retest that. Keep this one on your radar. I don't think it's going to do it today, but it might be worth looking at over the next couple of days. So for today, look, it's hard to see past Paladin, but it were me a miss of me not just have a look at one of my favourite stocks, 360 ASX, the family app pullback has happened. This might even sneak its way back up. Uh, we're testing that $50 level. We are actually over it right now. I did think there'd be a pause here. Keep an eye on 5112 just as one to keep an eye on. Mineral resources. So we've got lithium, we've got gold. Mesoblast is interesting. A little bit more work to do on Mesoblast. IGO lithium. So you can see lithium stocks doing well, but uranium stocks look as though it's where the money is. Paladin, is the key play, but keep an eye on lithium and LYC over the next 2 days. Right. Okay, we'll just have a quick foray into the ASX. I know, yeah, it's cool, it's cool. I'm delighted to give you a slightly longer session today. Um, I wonder whether that's worth a nudge now. If we 230 up to 257, it's a nice move. It's around about 7% on Visa Blast. If you want something different in your portfolio, maybe that's worth a look. Right, let's check out the US. So we did get a pullback in Nvidia over the last couple of days. This is on the back of potential issues with China exporting to China. Looks like the Chinese are just turning the screw a little bit. So we did have that pullback underneath 174. So we've got some fairly clear lines in the sand in this. I think it might be worth having a look at if we're going to bounce. It is slightly up in extended hours trading this morning after that drop. But watch to the downside as well. If you are in this and have been in for some time, it might just be worth taking a little bit off the table if it gets anywhere near this sort of 167 level. Because if we breach that, that could precipitate some more selling. MU is a stock that we've been banging on about for days. There we go. Micron just keep on powering up. So Nvidia's weakness hasn't been mirrored with the other semiconductors. Really, really strong move over 160, new high on that. So Micron are looking very, very healthy indeed. Let's just pop on PayPal. A while since I've had a look at this stock, to be fair. But you can see there the buyers are potentially getting back in. This is the key level here, around about 70. I'd be almost tempted just to see if it'll breach this 200 MA at 71.50, and then a potential move up to late 70s PayPal. So that's not a bad place to have a look at. The airlines have been banging on about. I think it's got to do a little more work. We have tested this 200 MA. You can see there. So it looks as though we're supported by off American Airlines. So maybe a buying opportunity back up. If this is your sort of pullback, buying a pullback, then this could be one to keep an eye on. For sure. And be looking at a week in extended hours. Let's look at JD. I haven't had a look at JD for Young. Really nice close. So JD breached that. We sort of took a look at this a couple of weeks ago because it was gathering a bit of steam off this support. So these lower lows have been breached to the upside. We're through the 200 MA in the day before yesterday and followed through yesterday, though we didn't come off the highs, but we still finished in the top half of the candle. So this is the second biggest Chinese internet stock after Alibaba. And looks good for a move up to 37 potentially. So not a bad potential move there. Delta just needs to range bound. So with a potential bounce, 63 is the level to watch. But that may be worth, again, if you like the idea of an airline long term, Delta's actually not a bad place to be, maybe fundamentally. 58.16. May pause at around, obviously may pause at around about 63. Now let's have a look at Tesla. Boom. So Elon bought a load of his own shares, and that precipitated a move to the upside. If we look on weekly chart, next level of interest is obviously this level here at 438. That is, what was that? Trump was elected. 488, yeah, that's it. So we haven't seen it at this level since November 2024, which is obviously post-election. It's not the 5th. Yeah, so this was the election here. Post election, we saw the move up in Tesla up to record highs to 478. So reach of 438 sees it up to 478 potentially. So keep an eye on that price level. But MU is just hard to go past, to be honest. Um, so that's where I'm going to plant my US Jar of the Day flag. Anyway, there you go. I'll just check in and see if I've answered anything. Um, I missed any early chat, so because for some reason it put it up. So apologies for that. Um, if you can and you've enjoyed it or got something from it, just if you can just tick that little thumbs up like button, that would be great. And if you can make it along in the later in tonight's inner circle, I think it's a good one. Anyway, you know where I am if you need me. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Yeah, my email address in here. I.smith@markets.com. Always happy to hear from you. Um, and most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for your company. We'll catch you later. Bye for now.